Hello everyone, my name is Noah from the Credit Crew, and today I'm going to be doing a quick review of Worlds of Fun in Kansas City, Missouri. So I was able to go to Worlds of Fun on May 11th, and so I just wanted to go over my experience there. Before I begin, I want to preface that since I live in mid-Missouri, I've been going to Worlds of Fun for well over a decade at this point, and I do consider it to be one of my home parks. Out of the three main parks in Missouri, I would easily say that Worlds of Fun is much more comparable to Six Flags St. Louis, although I do prefer it quite a bit more than Six Flags St. Louis. Obviously, Silver Dollar City is in a league of its own, so it really isn't fair to compare Worlds of Fun to one of the absolute best parks in what I think is the entire world. So with all this being said, I will try not to be too biased in any direction when going over some of the pros and cons of this park. I'll go over the negative first today, just to get those out of the way. First of all, probably the main thing is the coaster lineup is rather small and lacking a bit in diversity. So they do only have 7 true thrill coasters, and then 2 of those are clones. 3 of them are wood, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, and I'll get more in depth with that here in a little bit. Another negative is that the food options are, I would consider, below average, even for a theme park. The Cedar Fair parks, as of recent, have been doing a pretty good job at getting some new food options that are pretty solid, but this park, meals are something I skip every time I go, and that's probably not going to change anytime soon. And just the lack of other rides and shows and such just make this probably only a half a day park. So I do have a generally positive view of this park, so I definitely have a longer list of pros. The first of those is that this park is easily accessed. It's right off the highway, which makes getting in and out very easy. No complaints there. And the coasters they do have, although there aren't too many of them, they're generally really solid. So they do have a Wacky Worm, a Gerstlauer spinner, which generally draws the longest lines in the park. So that's, after getting the credit there, many years ago, I've really never gone back to that one. And then a Boomerang, which is actually pretty decent for a Boomerang. It's a solid one for sure. And those are the 3 kind of just, coasters that I usually skip. But beyond that, they have Timberwolf, which is a pretty old Den coaster, which is solid. It is closed for retracking for all of this year, which will be a good thing. The parts that they have retracked a couple summers ago ended up being pretty smooth, so be interesting to get back on that in a few years and see how it's running. And then they have Patriot, which is a okay invert. It's definitely one of the more mild B&Ms. It's all right. I wish it was better, but it is what it is. And then Zambezi Zinger is their newest coaster. It was a GCI Titan Track coaster they added in 2023. And when I first rode it in 2023 in opening year, I thought it was okay, but getting back on it, my opinion definitely changed on it quite a bit, and I thought it was actually really solid. So definitely a good fit in the park, although it is the third wood coaster, which is a bit redundant, but it's definitely a solid ride for sure, and I would not skip this one. And then the top 2 are really where this park shines. So first we have Prowler, which is an amazing GCI. However, there is a bit of a problem I have that I noticed in my most recent visit, and it's that this coaster is very temperamental. So there's been times in the past where I've gotten on it and I thought it was just fantastic, like great ride. But then the most recent time, crowds weren't great. It wasn't super hot, still being in very early summer, late spring. And it wasn't really running the fastest. We could get maybe, besides us 3 that went, like 2 others on the train at any time. So it was definitely running really slow, and just, it's one of the most egregious examples of being great when it's running good and just being when it's not. So I would definitely recommend going to this park in peak summer hours to get the full experience there. And then we have Mamba, which is a Morgan Hyper, and some recent changes to it have made it probably into my favorite ride at the park. So before it was just a solid Hyper, maybe less than solid. It was okay. Didn't have much airtime. Didn't pull many forces, but a couple summers ago, they redid the profiling on the first drop and then turned down the mid-course brake run quite a bit, which just made this ride run so much better. It actually provides airtime, and I would definitely say it's better than a lot of B&M Hypers at this point. So Mamba, very good ride. Another pro is that the crowds are just very manageable at this park. There's never been a time where I've been to Worlds of Fun and everything wasn't a station wait. So that's definitely something to look forward to. There's not going to be too many people here. So that mixed with the top 2 coasters of this park definitely make it worth going to. So the final pro I want to go over, and what I think is the most underrated part about this park, is just the overall charm of it. So I wouldn't say it's very well themed. It is themed after Around the World in 80 Days. So you'll have there's an Asian section, African section, and some other areas of the world mixed in there. But this park just has very good landscaping, and it goes a little more above and beyond than you typically see at a Six Flags or even some Cedar Fair parks. So it just makes it look very nice. I thought it reminded me a lot of King's Dominion, where it's not like it's not super immersive or anything, but it just looks really nice, which is awesome. So this park is undoubtedly trending in the right direction. It's been making some great strides. The landscaping and theming improvements, and then reworking Mamba, as well as repainting it and Patriot and some other rides too. And most notably, the addition of Zambezi Zinger in 2023. All of these changes / additions have shown that Cedar Fair and Six Flags definitely care about this park at least a little bit. So with all this being considered, as well as Kansas City's growth trending in the positive direction, and there just being a ton of available land at Worlds of Fun, I really am optimistic about the future of this place. And while I am satisfied with the current state, there's always this part of me that's really hoping for a big addition in the near future. So there have been some rumors about a new coaster coming within the next couple of years, and with 2026 having some World Cup matches scheduled in Kansas City, I really am keeping my fingers crossed that some of these rumors of a possible new coaster will come to light as early as late this summer. But overall, I think that Worlds of Fun is a very solid park, and while it shouldn't necessarily be a huge priority since it is a bit out of the way of most other parks in the U.S., the major ones at least, it should definitely be paired with Silver Dollar City and possibly even Six Flags St. Louis or Holiday World on the Missouri area coaster trip. So as for a final score, I'm going to give Worlds of Fun a 7.5 out of 10, and I would definitely recommend visiting here at some point if you are ever nearby or you ever get the chance to. Anyways, we are going on a Texas trip later this week, so stay tuned for our first-time visits to Six Flags Fiesta Texas, SeaWorld San Antonio, and some more. And as always, thanks for watching.
Credit Crew Productions.